What's up, guys? It's the Sunday after UFC 260, and we'll be discussing some of the main card fights. Overall, I thought it was a fantastic card, very exciting, heartbreaking in some respects. We saw a lot of veterans go down against the present and maybe even the future of the sport. So, with that being said, let's dive in. The main event saw Stipe Miocic defend his title in a rematch against Francis Ngannou. One of the things that really struck me immediately about this fight was Ngannou's patience. If you guys remember in that first fight, he came out swinging, very reckless. Stipe was able to use a lot of that unbridled aggression to his advantage. He was able to get out of the way, shoot for takedowns, make Francis tire, and eventually took over the fight, really. Um, Not long into the first round, Francis had expended his energy and Stipe was taken over. This fight, and the commentators really did a great job of pointing this out. Francis came out and he was measured in his approach, patient. He waited for openings. Um, and I don't think we give enough credit to Stipe for what he did in that first fight. Um, he had carefully constructed a house of cards over the course of 5 rounds, successfully avoiding every single thing that Ngannou threw at his way. Well, that's not true. He did get hit a couple times, but by and large, he avoided a lot of the knockout shots. And Francis learned from that. Coming into this fight, I wasn't convinced that we were going to see a lot of improvements from Francis. I thought the narrative was going to be largely the same. Francis was going to come forward, try to catch him. Stipe was going to try to do what he did in the first fight. And I thought the main storyline would be, can Francis do that? Is this the time he's going to catch Stipe? Didn't work the first time, but he's got another 25 minutes. Maybe over that period, he'll catch him with that big shot. I was entirely wrong, which brings me to my next point. I think we saw a lot of verifiable improvements in Ngannou's game, particularly, and I'm sure you guys saw it as well, that takedown sequence, right? Miocic shot for a double, um, grabbed I believe he transitioned to a single at some point. Ngannou sprawled beautifully, got around to the back and started pounding away. Stipe took a few clean shots before getting up. And then again, Ngannou fired a head kick in the middle of that flurry. And Stipe was a little bit frustrated. You can tell after that first round, he walked away and he kind of made a face like, damn, I let that round slip away and took some hard shots for it. Which brings me to my third point. We saw a very frustrated Stipe Miocic, which is kind of ironic if you think about how the first fight went. He was very patient, um, measured, methodical in his breakdown of Ngannou. This time it was almost the opposite. And that's something I never thought that I would say, not because I didn't think Ngannou could make adjustments. I just thought that he relied so heavily on what kind of brought him to the dance that I didn't think when the lights went on, he would stray from it. Um, but, you know, he made the requisite adjustments and was able to execute it in the fight. And the final sequence in which Stipe went down was a product of his frustration because I think Ngannou was coming forward, landing hard punches, and Stipe fired one back. It landed, but I don't think it hurt Ngannou as much as he thought it did. And he moved forward to attack some more, and he took the check left hook, which eventually put his lights out for the night. Um, Overall, stunning performance, amazing, amazing display by Ngannou, and I'm excited for whatever comes next, whether it's John Jones or Derek Lewis. Either would be fascinating fights. Fight number two, Tyron Woodley versus Vicente Luque. I think that coming into this fight, Woodley was talking a lot about how he's going to be aggressive. He's going to come forward. He's going to try to take out Luque. And I think that led to some performance anxiety that manifested as recklessness. You saw right away he threw an overhand right the second the ref said start. It was very reminiscent of McGregor Cerrone, right? As soon as the ref said go, step forward with that big punch. Luque was able to clinch with Woodley and kind of tame some of that aggression. Now, once they broke from the clinch, that is, Woodley landed a picture perfect overhand right that really seemed to wobble Vicente Luque. Now, I put that Luque won via submission composure, and the composure was largely in the stand-up exchanges. When Luque got tagged, his technique remained crisp and clean throughout the exchanges, and Woodley's, quite frankly, did not. He was flailing around the cage. He was missing. He was trying to shoot for sloppy takedowns, and eventually he shot for a takedown, and Luque got the Bravo choke. And I believe he has a couple on his record, maybe one more. I'll have to check that. But overall, this was the win that Luque needed. For a while, he had racked up wins against, you might call them B plus level opponents. This was finally an A level win. Maybe at this stage in Woodley's career, he's not an A level fighter, but it's certainly an A level win. And if you look at the last couple guys that beat Woodley, Kamaru became champion, obviously. Burns got a title shot, and now Covington beat him, and he's right up there for a title shot. So this can only do good things for Luque's career. For Woodley, you have to imagine this is probably his final fight in the UFC. I don't know if they'll cut him or if he'll retire, but I, I mean, maybe I can see them giving him another shot, but we'll have to see. And that brings me to the feature fight of the night, Sean O'Malley versus Thomas Almeida. One of the things that was apparent right away in this fight was O'Malley's dynamic striking compared to Almeida's more, I don't want to say basic, but um, refined, clean technique, right? And a lot of times that unorthodox nature of the striking can cause problems, and you saw that, right? He was able to catch Almeida from odd angles. The one shot that really rocked him was, I believe it was an attempted head kick turned more into a knee, kind of like Moraes versus Sterling, right? And that's what really put Almeida on wobbly toes. And then O'Malley came forward and landed a couple strikes and put him down. And that brings me to the next topic, which is the stoppage controversy. During that sequence, O'Malley plants Almeida against the cage, and he kind of walks off like the fight's over. But the referee prompts him to continue fighting, and Almeida is able to get back up and survive for another round and a half or so, maybe 2 rounds. Late in the third, the stoppage came. I'm going to side with the ref on this one. I think Almeida went down, but it was clear that the fight wasn't over yet and that he had just fallen. He put his hands up, and in that sense, he was intelligently defending himself. Now, over the course of the next round and a half, 2 rounds, he did take a lot of damage. And that brings me to a problem that's kind of inherent in the rules themselves. Um, a lot of times, as long as somebody's intelligently defending themselves, meaning they're moving, they're trying to improve position or get out of a bad position, the fight will not stop. We saw that with Teixeira versus Anthony Smith. Um, there were multiple sequences where you could say that Anthony Smith was not going to win that fight, but Glover never poured it on to the point where the ref could intervene without controversy, and Smith kept moving when he was told to move. Now, at what point do you consider the cumulative damage over the course of the fight and the fact that maybe a fighter does not have the opportunity to win any longer? That's what I think we saw with Almeida. So, although the sequence itself wasn't enough to warrant an initial stoppage, I think that over the course of that fight, it certainly could have been stopped due to the one-sided nature of the fight. In terms of what's next, I don't know if Almeida's getting cut or if he's getting another chance. If he's getting another chance, you might want to match him with somebody like Gustavo Lopez, who just suffered a loss to Adrian Yanez. I think that would be a great fight. For O'Malley, you got to imagine this gives him another crack at the top 15. Maybe someone like Song Yadong or Kyler Phillips would be a great next matchup.